Welcome to the Queens on Decks, where I interview female DJs from around the world. I am Michelle Miller, your host of the Royal Queens Rising podcast. We share our inspiring stories and secrets to our success. Hi, welcome to the Royal Queens Rising podcast. I'm your host, DJ RunDat. Today I have Rebecca Blust. Hi.
Hi.
So excited to connect with you. Rebecca and I met in a transformational leadership program in 2019, and now we are connected for life. So a little bit about Rebecca. She is a best-selling author, speaker, and empowerment guru. She helps people get unstuck from self-sabotaging behaviors so they can have joyful relationships, respond instead of react to challenges, and have the life they want. She does this through what she calls grab and grow methods, simple tools to create awareness to the subconscious behaviors and easy tools to shift to abundance, flow, and joy. Doesn't that sound amazing? Who doesn't want abundance, flow, and joy? I'm all about that. So Rebecca, thank you for being on the podcast. Let's start out a little bit like, how did you get into this work?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I just adore you. You're right. We're going to be friends for the rest of our lives. It was such an amazing experience that we got to have. So how did I get into this work? So I believe we all have kind of what I call a through line through our whole lives, right? And so if you go back, you can find your gift actually comes out through your whole life in different ways. And so my through line basically is really like I'm gifted at helping people reach their full potential and be successful. And it started when I was a teacher. So I taught for 21 years, 23 years, and I taught in a very high crime rate town. The children were, it was a Title I school. And so that means that most of the children were on free or reduced lunches. They came from broken homes, scary homes, a lot. 75% of the 911 calls in the valley that I live in came from this area. So a lot of trauma, right? And so children, and we didn't have a lot of resources. So there was no counselor, there was no special classes or courses or help for children that came from these homes. And some of them very like emotionally disturbed, I guess would be the best word, and a lot of like behaviors from that. And so you would get children who would be like throwing chairs and stabbing other children with pencils. Like we're talking, or like just sitting in their chair and rocking, refusing to, or incapable of, not refusing, incapable of interacting, or like hiding under the desk. I mean, just we're talking like serious emotional behaviors, right? And in the situation that I was in, there's no resources. So it was, sink or die. And I flourished, and I was able to take children that would come to me, and maybe in a different school, they got a special classroom and special help, but they would come to me, and it got to the point where people gave me, all those children were in my classroom because I was really good at the time, there wasn't, positive psychology didn't exist, but it was called the Pygmalion effect or the expectation advantage. And really it was this psychology of setting up basically agreements between you and this child or a person, and really focusing on their strengths and really focusing on the things that they love, and creating respect. And the children would literally in 9 months go from like, screaming, yelling, throwing chairs, to passing all of their state tests, having friends, feeling good about themselves, feeling good about their achievements, and really, having success. And it was there that I started, this whole like psychology and this whole almost experimenting, like what works and what doesn't, and how do you turn someone around. And I really, what really hit home to me is that how the child believes about themselves that creates this. Is when I had a child, and his behavior was so bad that he could only go to school half day. He couldn't handle whole day. And I'm going to call him John. His name wasn't John, but we'll call him John. And John and I was able to create a relationship with him and trust. He would have amazing days, amazing. And I would call his parents and let them know, like, John had such an amazing day. And here's what John did, X, Y, Z. The next day, John would be horrible. And I realized that John had this belief that he created with his parents. Now, I'm a bad child. And so when his parents would give him the confirmation that he wasn't, his subconscious mind would make sure he proved the next day how bad he was. And so, and it clicked. I'm like, oh, this is what's going on with John, right? He and I had created a whole different dynamic. And so I called his parents and said, here's what's going on. So you're not going to tell him. I'm going to let you know how amazing your child is, but you're not going to say anything. That way you can feel good, but we're not going to say, you are not going to say anything to John. And it got to the point where he can come back to school full day. So that's how I started. And then it just continued. So then I left teaching. I moved into creating online programs. It was an online program for people with chronic disease. Same thing. People would identify with the disease, perpetrate the disease. The only thing they talked about was the disease and their doctor's appointments. And there's a lot of things that you can do with lifestyle to reverse these diseases, but you also have to get into the subconscious mind. Otherwise, once they leave you and your program, they'll just eventually be back where they were, right? So then doing that and seeing people being able to create change forever. Matter of fact, we just got a message from a lady, and I'll call her Sarah. And Sarah was able to reverse her chronic diseases and stay like, disease-free for 5 years. Unfortunately, she just came down pancreatic cancer, but she sent us a message saying that she's so grateful for the last 5 years that she was able to live disease-free, chronic, free from pain, and have this joyful, abundant life, and was very thankful. So kind of that's my through line. And then I jumped over to Positive Thinking Revolution, where I really started like wanting to help women, because I'm a woman, and really help them get into those subconscious beliefs, create some awareness around all kinds of stuff, money, health, relationships, the purpose in life, and then change it. Like if you can get into that subconscious mind, the awareness first, and then two, it really is small shifts. Then it just opens everything up. And I'll give you an example. I was just working with someone, and they had a rocky relationship, I'd say, or a difficult relationship with their daughter, right? Because there's also some things that sometimes happen between moms and daughters for almost 50 years, to the point where their daughter was no longer speaking to them in any forum, like, on Messenger, text, anything. And so I gave her one little thing to do, one little thing. Then 4 days, her daughter called her to tell her how much she loved her.
Aww.
So it can be like that quick and that easy. Yeah. So, and I just have a passion for that, because we get stuck in these patterns that we ingested before the age of 8. And then we keep recreating them in our lives with relationships, or with our wealth, or with our flow, or with our purpose, or whatever it is, right? And we don't want to be there, and we want something else, but we can't seem to get there. And it's all because our subconscious mind is keeping us safe. So, right. So our subconscious mind, its goal is, the number one thing for your subconscious mind is to keep you safe, right? That's the goal. And safety means that if you're alive, it's done a really good job. It has kept you safe, right? You're alive, it's kept you safe. So all these beliefs and all these patterns that you have, your subconscious mind believes works because you are alive, right? Its job is not to make you happy. Its job is to keep you safe, right? And that's what's running you. That's what's running your life, your subconscious mind, right? Because it's absorbing 11 million bits of information per second. It's coming and literally delete, throw away, gone, unless it matches your patterns, you're not going to, and I want everyone to hear this. You're not going to physically see it. You're not going to physically hear it. Like you literally, it's deleted. It's deleted. And so, like when you buy that blue Honda, right? And all of a sudden, everyone has a blue Honda. Where did these blue Hondas come from? They were always there. You just didn't see them, right? That's how powerful it is. And there's, I mean, if people want to get into the science of it, it's called reticular activating system. It's actually physiological. It's all of your senses except for smell comes in through the base of your spine, and your subconscious mind is literally like, nope, nope, gone, ding, dun, and then you're left with what you've always seen and what you've always heard. Isn't that crazy?
It is. It's wild. And my brain's going like, okay, is that what happens when this happens to me? Or when I feel like this? Or, I've become so aware of some of these thoughts and feelings that are they even real? Like, I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. This doesn't make any sense to me. But
Mhm,
sometimes I get stuck and I can't, well, I have a hard time pulling myself out of it
mhm,
for weeks
mhm,
where I'm like,
mhm,
there's a few reasons I can think why. Maybe my health is a little bit off, or someone
mhm,
I really love, a family member's health is a little off, and that sends me into freak out mode and
mhm.
stress. But like, there's been times where everything is so blessed. I should be so grateful. I'm on vacation with my family and I feel like crap.
Mhm,
What is that?
mhm.
How do you
Yeah,
get out of it? I mean, I know
yeah.
some tools, I know, how it all connects with diet, um, food, food, diet, how much sleep, what you're
Mhm,
consuming in your mind. You can meditate, you can exercise, you could reach out to a friend, or, the things that make you feel good, some uplifting music, get into your body. Like, I know some tools, but still sometimes it's hard to get out of it.
yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, what you're feeling is real to you. And I always tell people, feel your feelings. Because if you pretend like you're not feeling them or you shove them down, they actually get stuck in your body physiologically. Like we can go into the science of that. So then next thing you know, you've got like a chronic disease or a backache or a pain in your foot, right? So you definitely want to like feel your feelings, right? And because they're real to you, whether or not it actually happened or someone else, was in that situation, saw the same thing or felt the same thing is irrelevant to you because that's how you feel, right? And all of it goes back to, once again, before the age of 8. So how it works is this, and I'll get into like some things that you can do, but how it works is this, is that before the age of 8, and some people say 6, so they say 0 to 6, 0 to 8. So I'll use 8. You're in what's called the theta brainwave most of the time, and that's a hypnotic state because you have to learn how to talk, eat, walk, put on your clothes, use the toilet. In the Western world, read, write, do math, right? So all of this stuff. And so, but you don't have much language. A matter of fact, before the age of, if you come from a low poverty home, you have 600 words when you start school. If you come from middle class, you have 1,500 words. And if you come from college graduates, you have 3,000. So you literally don't have a lot of words to describe. You certainly don't understand concepts, right? Cause and effect. You are in the world where magic is true. Santa Claus, Easter Bunny. You're not. It's not solidified. You're not in the solid world yet. And you certainly don't have your frontal lobe until you're 25, right? So these things happen, and your subconscious mind is fit in. You have to fit in with the tribe, because if you don't, you're not safe, right? And it's goes way back. We haven't evolved out of that, and so you're ingesting all these beliefs, and then what happens is your subconscious mind attaches a meaning to something. So if this happens, then this is what it means. These are the emotions I'm going to have, and these are the actions I'm going to take. It's a programming. So when things happen, as an adult, you think that you're reacting to that situation, but really your subconscious mind, up comes a program. Oh, this is because it's looking for patterns. This is this event. This is what we're going to think. Here's how we're going to feel, and here's how we're going to act. And so, especially anytime you're emotional, you're not actually thinking, you're in this program has popped up, right? And so you're like, why am I feeling this way? Well, your subconscious mind picked up on something, and then this is how you're going to feel. And it could be simple. Like there was this gentleman that his subconscious mind, when he was younger, he had a tray of food and he fell in the cafeteria. His food fell all over, and the children laughed at him. So his subconscious mind attached a belief that you can't trust yourself in front of people. You're not trustworthy, right? So whenever he had to do public speaking, he would just like sweat profusely, and he didn't know why. And so we had to get back to that. Oh, here's what's going on, right? So part of it is like awareness, like creating awareness of when you start having those feelings, like not like pushing them down, but really taking some time to feel them, and then ask yourself, where's this coming from? And if you can keep going back, like what happened when I was 15 that was similar, 10, 5, and going back and back and back and back. So if you can get to like the beginning, right? And it's always in the beginning. You have some sort of belief that you attached. And then with your adult mind, if you can walk yourself through that situation, like, is that really true? Most likely not. Yes, that gentleman can trust himself in front of people. He was a kid, he tripped, right? But that's what the subconscious mind, that was a belief that got attached to that. And then the belief is you're not trustworthy in front of people, right? And so then the emotion is nervousness. The reaction is this profuse sweating, right? So that's one thing that people can do also. And then I want to also talk about, Michelle, because it is really important. We have a chemical body, right? So food is chemicals. It turns into chemicals when you eat it. The lack of sleep, causes chemicals to be released. When you're not exercising, chemicals get released. So, and there's happy chemicals, and then there's not happy chemicals, right? And so, yeah, it's really important to really be in tune with your body and make sure you're eating what your body needs and getting that sleep and drinking that water, because it's really hard to fight, because your chemicals, your body's made up of chemicals. It's really hard to fight that if you're dehydrated, or you don't, you have, you're not have the levels of serotonin you should, or you have a lot of cortisol, to get out of your brain when your body is like pumping you full of chemicals that don't like work for a happy brain. So that is important too. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't remember ever being taught that. I don't know if they even cover that in school. So much of this, I don't think. I mean, I remember taking psychology, but I don't really remember much. I remember like Pavlov.
Right, Pavlov's dogs,
Like I remember
saliva.
I learned the word salivating because I do that when I look at food sometimes. But like I don't remember. And so it's like later in life we get to discover all these things. So I love that we're talking about this because I think just so much of my own family, people I know, and even myself could use this work and what you're talking about, like the small shifts that make a big difference. And I've learned them. And people say, how have you become so resilient, or how come you're so happy all the time, or how are you so positive? And the truth is that I'm not, but I've got the tools, and I'm always getting more tools. And by, talking to people like you who are teaching me, it's all just part of this journey that we get to go on. And I think about my 8-year-old son, and I'm like, well, I don't want to traumatize him any more than natural trauma, like through school or through just life. I mean, you can easily get triggered or traumatized. But so I've become really conscious of who I'm being around my family. Like I definitely have lost my shit a couple times this year, and I'm trying very hard to keep my reactions under control, because they'll mirror that.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids are 21 and 16, and it's interesting to watch what because they're, no matter what you're saying, it doesn't matter. They're going to, what they're learning is how you're behaving. That's what they're picking up on. Right. And it's, yeah. And anything to, any of us, any rejection actually is a trauma. That's why, trauma can be huge, like physical, sexual, emotional abuse, like huge trauma. But trauma is also any type of rejection. It's a trauma. which is we minimize that, especially for our children. Think about all the, I mean, with the social media, how much, they're feeling rejected and not wanted or not enough, right? And so they're experiencing that trauma. And one of the things that, and his name is Robert Emmons, and he is a psychologist and he's an expert in gratitude. And he's done a ton of studies on gratitude and using people from the age of 7 to 70. And what his studies have shown is that people with a gratitude practice, a daily one, and it doesn't have to be journaling, there's all kinds of ways that you can practice gratitude, have increased their positivity levels like by 300% in as little as 3 weeks. And so, we talked about chemicals. So you have happy chemicals, right? So you're happy for a little bit, and then the chemicals go through your body and you come back down to kind of the base level, or something happens and you drop below that base level, grief, sadness, anger, and then hopefully you come back up. Well, you can take that baseline, which is your positivity level, and you can increase it so that so maybe you're here all the time, and then your happy chemicals bring you here, but then you drop down here. You can take that level to here, and then what happens is when you have things that happen and you drop below that level, you're not there for as long, and you're not there for as deep, and you're able to come back up to this positivity, the state, right, this base. And it's through gratitude. There's so much research that the number one mindful technique, and there's a lot, right? There's journaling, there's meditation, there's breath work, there's a lot of mindful techniques, but research is showing right now that the number one technique that you can use to raise your positivity levels is a gratitude practice. And you can do that with your kids. And like one of the things that I teach. And I wish I had done it. I had known about this when my kids were little, but you get a journal. It could be one at the dollar store. It doesn't have to be fancy. And you put it in a high traffic area, usually the kitchen, right? By the refrigerator, with some pens. And what you do is like you write to each other. The family members write to each other what they're grateful for about another family member. And it could, and so what happens is, especially when the kids start when they're little, and it's just pictures, the little fat head, the little arms coming off of that picture or whatever, they start, it becomes a family practice, right? And so like maybe the kids had a fight, but then Johnny is telling Susie how much he loves her and wants to protect her or whatever, or, some strength. I really like how like you're such a good basketball player, and you're such a great bigger brother. And then, mom is writing to dad and dad is writing to, Sally. And then what some people have done is at the end of the year, they take those folders and they get them bound and they create a family love book. So family love book 2021, family love book 2022, right? And so it helps instill in the children a gratitude practice. And it's a gratitude practice as a family. And then it helps smooth over those little like bumps, those challenges that you have when you're, when you're living together in your relationships, you're going to have that. But then you get to show a different side, and it's written down and it's memorialized. So like, that's an example of a gratitude practice that doesn't involve you journaling to yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I remember when my daughter would have night terrors and it was so frightening. And I felt like there wasn't much you could do about them to get rid of them. And so I did what I could, and I put dream catchers up around her room, and I would give her, she was probably like 4, and I would give her these like full body massages at night. And we would do this practice where we would go through like all the family and friends and say that I would say like, I love you, Grandma Cindy loves you, Grandpa Danny loves you. And I would go through all these people and say that, that they all loved her. And then we would do our gratitude, what we were grateful for. And then I started doing it with when we get together with the family, my siblings and nieces and nephews and stuff, and I would go around the circle and have them share what they were grateful for. And they all think I'm kind of the crazy auntie, but like, and like I started doing it just with the kids now, and we would circle up and hold hands. And there's some really cute, funny videos. They crack up. My son's laughing at me thinking I'm a crazy mom. So yeah, it's something that I want to even practice even more and get that ritual with my son at night when I put him to bed. My daughter, I think she's got it pretty good now. she's got a pretty good mindset. And they do have a mindfulness teacher that comes into the schools around here. So we're really grateful for that. I think, you know, it's something important, that a life skill to know about.
Yeah, you guys are lucky to have that they've invested in that, because that's so helpful. I mean, there's other we know cultures that actually have meditation and stuff as part of their whole educational system. So you guys are lucky. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are in a little bit of a hippie area, if you want to call it that. I mean, we're in the woods of Northern California. We're in our own world up here. But yeah, we are very lucky. And you know, my one of my best friends works for our family resource center. And so you know, the work that you were doing with the children before they even had like a, you know, they didn't have those resources. That's so powerful. Like, I mean, what a big heart you have to be that teacher that really cared enough and you know could really tap into their brains. And I mean, I'm thinking about my son this morning. I said, you know, let's have a great day today at school, and he was being negative about it. And I'm thinking, why is he being, I'm an optimist and he's been a pessimist a lot lately, and I don't know what it is. And I get to get some tricks to try to flip it for him, because you know, I think maybe we'll start with the gratitude today. And like, I would like to get his teacher a gift. I think today might be Teachers Appreciation Day or something. I got an email. So I've been wanting to get his teacher like a spa gift certificate or something, because I mean, I know it's been hard for moms and kids and the teachers especially, I think. So yeah, it's interesting. Why, I mean, when I'm a very positive person, but what is it, why is he thinking school's gonna suck? I mean, he's literally only been in class like, I can not even 10 times, like since in person. Like it's been like, we're still getting used to going back to school 2 days a week for 3 hours. So it's another adjustment, and that's what it has been the last year plus, is another adjustment, and that's kind of life. So it's like, you know, what can we do for the children, like to help, just help them extra through these changes, because something's got to be going on emotionally, and they're like, it's all different now, you can't move around and you're wearing a mask, and you know.
Yeah, and adjustments for children are harder. I mean, like think about when the kids are really little, you have to say, okay, in 10 minutes we're leaving, and in 5 minutes we're leaving, and 2 minutes we're leaving, so that they can get used to the idea, or they'll throw a tantrum, right? Because change is hard for any of us, but it's specifically the younger you are, the harder it is. So it's the change, right? First we're doing this, then we're doing this, but we're coming back. It's not quite the same that it was, right? And so yeah, it's change. And then the other thing too that I like to do, and I did it, this is how I turn kids around in school, is that I do what's called strength-based relationships. So I would find anything that child was good at. And it might be, I mean, you know, it could just be, wow, I really appreciate how like you keep your desk so clean. Or I really appreciate how you put your pencil away after every time you're using it. I really like how, you know, you push your chair in, you're so, because I can see you're conscientious, you don't want other people to trip. Like whatever it was, like I would find anything and everything and just compliment, so that they started viewing themselves differently, because we all have what's called a negativity bias. We haven't evolved out of it, and it was created to keep us safe in our environment when we lived, like, you know, where an animal could eat you that night, or someone could attack you from another tribe, right? And those of us that had ancestors that were good at perceiving danger quickly, they're part of the gene pool right now. So we're part of the gene pool, and we had ancestors that, you know, had a really good, like, saw the danger quickly. It's called the negativity bias. So we actually are wired to see negativity first, and we do it with our children. We do it in our relationships. So basically it's like, you know, the kid could just like, amazing day, whatever. They came back, they got all A's on their, you know, report card. And then they're like, oh, good job, you know, praise. But then why is your room a mess again? And like, did you pick up your plate and wash it from dinner? Why is it still sitting there? We talk about this all the time. And like, and you know, can you please be like nicer to your sister so the rest of the day, Like it's like this, right? Because we're wired to see negativity, and that's what we actually focus on, which is why there's if it bleeds, it leads, like news says that if it bleeds, it leads, because our brains look for it and we gloss over the positive. This is just how we're wired, and we focus on the negative, right? And so when you're aware of that, you can then turn that around and really like let things go, right? So I'm not going to mention the bedroom. Like they're probably going to grow up and have a clean bedroom as long as the door's shut. Like I'm not mentioning the bedroom, right? And choose not to mention things that are negative. Like you have to choose to let it go unless it's really important. And then choose instead to focus on the positive, and also the positive that is any direction in any step towards what you want, right? Wow. Like, so, for your son, I would say, he's not happy about school, but you could say, I really appreciate how you got up this morning. Like, good job getting up this morning. And, I really appreciate that you're responsible. So that's like a step. He got up and you didn't have to like haul him out of bed, right? It's a step. Like, oh, I really like the clothes that you picked out. That looks like really comfortable and like, whatever. So like, I would choose to compliment any little step that's towards school that you can paint it positive, right? And sometimes it's like you're really like searching. It's a micro, but you can, if you're searching, you can find it, versus how we're wired, which is the negativity bias, right? And that goes for all of our relationships. Any relationship you want to improve, if you want to just tell yourself, I'm only going to find positive today, and any negative thing, I'm just not even going to say, and you'll find it hard. You'll be like, oh, but I really want to, it's fascinating how the other person shifts like quickly.
That's good. I actually did that. I said, I'm really proud of the way you got ready to go to school today. Cause yesterday we were 15 minutes late. And so today I was like, really proud of you getting ready to go. So yeah, they need a lot of praise. And my mom even told me that about relationships with your husband. She goes, they need a lot of ego stroking. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Like I get to learn. My
Yeah.
husband told me too early on, he goes something like, as long as we always appreciate each other, we'll be good.
That's what he needs. Yeah. And many, well, all of us, but definitely, males, like really, like that's very, very important to them, and then here we are, like, that's why we have the, nagging. It's not nagging. It's just, we're just pointing out the negative.
We're just pointing out observations.
And as a female, it doesn't bother us as much, right, as it does, for whatever reason, I don't know the psychology of that it does, a male. Like, actually, if we go to the psychology of it, if they're doing something wrong, and if they were back in the day on the tribes and they were protecting us, that meant the death probably of the tribe, right? So it's more important that they're doing things right than the gatherers. We would have been the gatherers of the, going out and gathering fruit, but not protecting. So yeah, probably if we go back, that's would be a psychology lesson right there.
So fascinating. So tell us a little bit about becoming an author. Tell us about your book.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I made a decision of, casting like a vision that I wanted to impact 1 million people. And what happens when you set that out there and then you let it go, like you don't like dwell on it, you get a lot of opportunities. And what happens is, because here's where you're at and here's where you want to go, you're not that person, or you would have it, you'd be doing it, right? You're here. And so to get here and have this, you have to change. So you set your intention, and there's things that you're going to have to change to be this, right? And there's things they're going to have to step through. I call it stepping through fear. So you'll cast whatever it is you want. And then, universe, God, whatever you want, however you works for you, gives you an answer and opportunities. And what we usually do is go, but not like, that's not how I want to do it. Not like that is too scary, And so what happened was I cast that vision, And then I got the opportunity to be part of, I was asked, to be part of this book compilation where you share your stories. And I had been told, and I have a belief that I am an abrupt person in my writings. So when I write, it's concise, it's to the point. I don't use a lot of adjectives, and being an avid reader myself, I know what good writing looks like. And I would not have considered myself the person who was capable of writing like that because of feedback I've gotten, to the point where sometimes I'll spend an hour if it's an email that's really important. I'll be like, okay, should I say this? Like, I'm really like thinking. So when I got that opportunity, my first response was fear. I can't write. It's going to be shameful. People are going to like laugh at me if they read it. Like, it's going to be terrible. But I said yes because of all the work I've done. So I know that I have to change and I have to trust and I have to step through that belief. And I did. I was really afraid. And what I didn't know is that I was going to get a writing coach for 3 hours every Saturday, that it was going to go through this editing process where, and I don't mean like the grammar and the spelling, that, that was at the end, I didn't see it, but this editing process where I got to meet with different coaches and they had different expertise. So one would be like, okay, let's look at the word choices and how can we like, beef that up and change this, and they would point it out. Or another one would be kind of a content, so this part we're going to make less and this part we're going to expand, and we want to dive deeper right here, let's like get into the emotions right here. And so I didn't know that. I had no idea when I said yes. So part of it is like, and I want to say to everyone out there, when you cast something out there, something that you want, some vision, and you also, you kind of let it go, you have to start saying yes, because you will get answers and you will get opportunities. But what will happen is you want to say no. They'll come and your subconscious mind is protecting you, right? And so you're like, oh, no, 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 I guarantee you. So you have to start. So one thing, my advice is say yes. So cast the vision and then just start saying yes, right? So I got the opportunity to write this book. Was afraid to do it, didn't know I was, how this was all going to work out. And it worked out amazing. It was like an international bestseller in 11 countries, I think, in 14 categories. And I had the impact that I had asked for, not in the way that I thought it was going to look, and not in the way that I would have ever chosen for me, but I had it, right? And so it's full of stories of basically people who went through a dark period, whether that was like abuse or an addiction or something, and how they came through this dark period, the realizations they had, the tools that they had. And so every story comes with a quote that the author, it's personal, something that came from them. So mine is you create your own happiness. In fact, you're responsible for it. And then after the story, there is a tool. So it's literally like either a step or even like a fill in the blank tool that every single author gets that can help the reader get through that dark point, like a step. Mine's about gratitude. So it's not only like very relatable, because I'm sure anyone reading it is going to find a story that is very similar to their story, because there's so many different types. But the theme is like, here's where I was at, here's what I came through, and here's how I did it. And so can you. And here's the step that I took, or a tool that I used. So it's also like almost like a workbook as well, and it's called Ignite Happiness. You can find it on my website, or you can also find it on Amazon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I am a yes girl too, and it always seems scary. Anytime something is new, it's that excitement and scariness that are together. And if you just turn that into excitement, because they just, that nervousness, it's just like, and then tell myself always, just have fun, just have fun. Just have fun. You're stretching, just make it fun, whatever it is. So that sounds like such an incredible journey to have that whole team and the coaching and like a collaborative event. I mean, when I wrote my book, I just kind of wrote a quick book and that was it. I had the proofreader. I didn't really have the editor.
Yes. Yeah. There's a difference there. Editors versus a proofreader, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So next time I get to learn from the experience and do it a little different. But
Yeah.
I feel like for me, when I became an author, it was kind of a big life-changing, experience in ways that I got over those fears of putting myself out there in my story. It was very vulnerable. And it opened up a lot of doors, a lot of doors.
Yeah, yeah, and that's when you say yes, more and more doors open up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say
Yeah.
that, like, for me as a DJ, like, one gig leads to another, or, just being, saying yes to interviews or whatever it may be, collaborations online, DJing together online, whatever it is, a lot of online collaborating this last year. So all of those, just you get exposed to other people, and then they catch your vibe, and then they think of you for some other next opportunity. Or if you just keep putting yourself out there, opportunities are going to come. You might cast that vision and have that goal of how you think things might be, but then something else comes and it's maybe even better.
Yeah, that's what you have to let go of, is how it's going to look, right?
Yeah.
So you set the intention and you have to let go of how it's going to look, because it could be so much more amazing than you ever expected, right? And then of course you have to say yes, because it's going to be you're going to be afraid. Something, it's not going to be like, oh yeah, this is exciting and I love it. It's going to be stretchy, and you can still love it, like you said, like just tell yourself to have fun and just do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learn from doing, and that's how I learn what I want, is from experiencing things. And then I'm like, I don't want that, or I don't like it like that, because I've experienced it. So you got to do, you got to be a doer. But also we both learn a lot about, it's not all about the doing, it's who you're being. And that's where it
Mhm.
starts.
It really is like who you're being, because energetic, everything is energy, right? And it's, at the smallest level, it's just energy, and all of us have an energy signature, right? And that can change because we're flowing in and out of different states, but you like announce to the world who you are, by your energy. And so it's really important, like when you cast your vision, is that you do step through that fear and you are willing to change, because you're here energetically, this person, and you want to be here, right? So you get to shift. And I do want to say this though, because I don't want there are times where something comes along and your gut says no. So it's not the gut feeling. So if you feel afraid and anxious and like, oh, I don't know, I don't think I can do this, that's not what I'm talking about. That means yes. But if you have a gut feeling that's no, like no, that's different, right? So yeah, so I just want to make that distinction. I don't, have someone like, but you said say yes. And then, there is that, if we listen to our gut, our gut will lead us as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Intuition. And I was told how you strengthen your intuition is when you have those sort of psychic moments. Say you're thinking about someone and they call, to just kind of feel into it and observe a little bit
hmm
of what's going on, and that could increase it. I don't know.
hmm Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just practice like everything else. We end up ignoring it. Like well, we all have it. It's the more that you use it, the stronger it's going to get, like any muscle, right? And just um we just know. I mean, but we just tend to like, no, I know we all can come up with a time where we ignored our gut feeling and something not so great happened, or times where it didn't make any sense, but we went with our gut and something amazing happened, right? So it's just like being aware and then listening, and the more you do, the more it just becomes stronger. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I fully believe in positive thinking. Tell us a little bit how you got the name Positive Thinking Revolution.
Yeah, it almost is misleading. I love the word. See, love. I love it. Love is in there. Um, I don't know. Other than I want it to be a revolution. I want everyone to be able to shift into positive thinking. And it's not like, when I say positive thinking, I'm not like la la fairyland. We're all just gonna have happy thoughts. It doesn't work that way. So that's where it's kind of misleading. It really is like proven. Like there's neuroscience, there's positive psychology, there's quantum physics. This stuff has been proven And everyone can take the steps. Like, it's not like this mystical, like, how does this happen? They have it, I don't. No, like, here there are steps that you can take and become like a positive thinker. That baseline that we talked about was here. Not that you're never going to be sad, you're never going to be angry. You will. It's just going to not last as long, and you're going to bounce back up, right? And we all get to have it, and we all get to like live this life where we get to, respond to a challenge. So a challenge happens and you get to respond to it, right? You don't all of a sudden just like have this reaction, later you regret it, right? You get to change those relationships because it's from the inside out. Everything in your life is from the inside out. And when I first heard that a long time ago, it made me feel angry. I was like, what? No, that person has done this. This event has happened to me. Like, this is happening. I'm not doing it. No, you are. It's inside out. And an example would be these children, right? Any other teacher would have said it's the kid. Then how did they come to me and in 9 months completely change? It wasn't the kid. It's inside us. So we are recreating the same patterns by our responses, by these programs that pop up. And you don't even know that. And here's what I really want people to understand. 95% of the day, you're in your subconscious mind. You're not even consciously aware. You think that you are, you're not, and it's running your world, right? And so we are recreating the same things over and over again, and we get to change it. It's not hard. It's just like, okay, awareness. How do I become aware? And there's lots of different things that you can do to become aware of the pattern that you have. And then two, there's lots of different things that you can do to shift it. Like, you literally shift it and you're no longer in that pattern, and you get to like change your life. And you see the people like, on Facebook who like a year ago had nothing, and then all of a sudden they've done the work and they've like, their life is 100% different, right? Because they shifted. And when you shift into a new belief and a new way of being, everything around you shifts, which we know, right, Michelle? We went through like part of that transformational leadership we went through. Like, that was really intentional, like how they taught that, and how, and we've seen it with the people that we went through, like their lives shifted dramatically. And it wasn't outside of them, it's inside.
Yeah. Yeah. So much like it's hard to explain what we went through in this leadership program we went through. If anybody listening has never heard of, leadership work or leadership program, reach out to us. I mean, the biggest thing that when I first left our first session was my awareness was so heightened everywhere I was going, and just observing and like feeling everything. And I learned how to feel. And then one of the big takeaways was like, how, the reminder of how we always have that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And and it all starts with who we're being, and here, connects here, and then still working on the dropping into my heart more. That's the
Yeah.
deep feels,
Yeah.
you know?
Especially when you're in a challenging conversation, most of us are in our head and we're in the fight or flight mode, right? But if you can stop and drop into your heart and literally speak from your heart, that energy creates a different response in the other person. It really does. And the key is to drop into the heart, right? And get out of the head. Yeah.
Yeah, and that hasn't been the easiest,
Mhm.
because it's a bit of a newer concept, I would say. Like, another
Mhm.
thing they don't teach you in school, like, are people talking about this? And that's another thing why it's so important of, who you surround yourself with. Now we have a big leadership family of like 100 people that we can help remind us of these tips and, different tools to just keep us feeling good and having joy and letting abundance come into our lives, and all the things we love and desire, and the magic and the miracles and all
Mhm.
of it. I watched all of us just create so much in the last
Mhm.
2 years or year and a half, or however long it's been. And it's
Mhm.
just the beginning on for me on my transformational journey. I mean, it's been going on for maybe 5 years since hiring a business coach and
Mhm.
learning about the transformational leadership work. And yeah, I just feel so grateful, the gratitude to, have you in my community and been going through this journey with you and everyone. So yeah, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. And how can we find you online and best support you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, you can find me at positivethinkingrevolution.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Bye for now. Go to my website to claim your free gift, a digital copy of my best-selling book, How to Start a DJ Business. www.djrundat.com. Follow me on all social media handles: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at DJ RunDat. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. To learn how you can book me or work with me, go to my website or email me at michelle@djrundat.com.